Good morning, afternoon, or evening to you, dear viewer. My name is Tyler, aka Sparrow, from Average Global Gaming, and today I'm here to speak on the topic of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. If you haven't purchased the game and are looking for a small-timer's opinion, I hope that you enjoy my presentation of it. Fair warning, however, there will be early game spoilers, avoiding emotional story revelations, but including scenes that I felt cute, or areas and fights that I enjoyed recording. Now, the story here is pretty solid. This game very much earns its E for Everyone rating, with a heartwarming tale that, to me, is about gaining confidence in oneself. Our tale starts us off in a dystopian city, much different from what veterans of the title are used to, and you're shortly introduced to Lombax. Just, what is going on here? Anyway, she saves a random alien from being eviscerated, and we're left wondering why we've just seen all this. Soon after, however, the scene transitions into a celebration of the original dynamic duo's history, focusing on Ratchet and Clank's most heroic deeds in a flashy space parade. Sadly, however, of course, it's soon interrupted by the goons far less and Dr. Nefarious, up to his apparently often failing schemes once again. Clank had prepared a dimension here, a gift for today, in order to aid Ratchet in attempting to find others of his species, the Lombax. Dr. N, however, was intent on stealing said device and using it for failing interdimensional conquest? I don't know, the guy's got a few bolts loose, if you ask me. Things naturally go awry quite quickly, and you start having this crazy opening sequence where creatures of all these insane varieties start popping into Ratchet and Clank's dimension. Now, the wonderful part about this sequence is that it's not just for show. Pretty much everything you see here is on the table for what you'll discover throughout the course of your journey. I will be giving a light story synopsis, being light on details, but giving you just enough to decide if seeing the full tale and beautiful visuals of this game are for you. Things, of course, take a turn for the worse here, as Nefarious ends up warping you all to a completely different dimension, and a scuffle causes the dimension to be blown up, shattering the dimensional continuity, opening rifts all across the galaxy you now find yourself in, and separating our titular heroes from each other. You soon wake up as Ratchet, and you find yourself in that very same dystopia from the beginning of the game, and learn that you're in Nefarious City, a dimension where Dr. Nefarious succeeded in his galactic conquest and became Emperor Nefarious. Oh my. You explore the city and eventually meet up with this game's upgraded and weapon vendor, Miss Zircon, whose name is somewhat familiar to fans of the reimagining of the first entry. She surprises Ratchet with the existence of another Lombax and proceeds to unintentionally fill him in on the presence of the Resistance, a fighting force rebelling against the Emperor. This group consists of characters that are dimensional counterparts of the original title's characters. You soon end up tracking one such freedom fighter down, Phantom, aka Skid McMarks, as he assists you in escaping Nefarious City to track down Clank and the other Lombax, Rivet. Now, you'll soon come to realize how this tale is about to go down, and to me personally don't have any sort of been there, seen that vibes. From here, you often take turns swapping between the two characters, and it adds this wonderful dynamic to the game, as their respective planets typically lend their aesthetic and motivations for being here, apart from the obvious Doctor/Emperor Nefarious. As Ratchet is leaving Nefarious City, you are warped into Rivet's shoes, who's taking Clank back to her home base on Sargasso, to discover if he's telling the truth about Ratchet and Dr. Nefarious. As you land, things aren't at all copacetic, due to both the rifts and Dr. Nefarious, who has taken over in the Emperor counterpart's absence, is intent on hunting both of our heroes down. Sargasso is Rivet's home, and you go about saving her family, the lovable Morts, shooting some bad guys, and doing some loving bonding between Clank and her. Here is where you start to realize that this game is littered with adorable moments, as well as puns and jokes aplenty. From Sargasso, you pay a quick visit to Scars 2's bar, where you meet Pierre Lafaire. This is yet another returning character, and you need a part from him, so he challenges you, and after a fun little boss battle, you finally fix Clank's communication relay. Using this, you inform Ratchet that the group needs to fix the dimension here in order to set everything back to normal. With that, Ratchet is off to Zavali to find the blueprints for it, and Rivet and Clank are heading to Blizar Prime with the goal of collecting phase quartz to power the device. On Zavali, Ratchet meets the awesome and lovable Dimensional Master Gary, and Kit, an apprentice to Gary. She's going to be Ratchet's new, albeit temporary, partner. By now, you've met quite a few characters, and like me, you'll come to realize that these individuals, old and new, help bring such joy and life to the story, as their voice actors are incredible, and their dialogue is well written. Rivet and Clank land on Blizar Prime, expecting an easy job but come to a shattered planet. They set about exploring, seeing firsthand what brought the planet to this sorry state. Did I mention there's time travel? It's awesome. Both of these planets are where the game truly starts to kick off in its zaniness, gameplay, and visuals. It's a wild ride from here on out, and the story is one worth seeing, but there's an emotional story twist right over the horizon, which I'll leave for you, the gamer, to discover. I hope, like me, you'll get a smile, a couple laughs, and maybe even a tear or two. Now, the graphics and locales are where this game shines quite a bit. There are 9 different planets you'll visit during the course of your journey, and all of them are well placed to their thematic enemies, cohabitants, as well as story elements. Sargasso and their hardy mole aliens, the Morts, as well as the acidic insects, volatile wyverns, and vicious alien T-Rexes. Or take Scars 2's asteroid belt, middle of space, shady port vibe, completed by a bar filled with the desperados of the galaxy, where you can boogie down like it's Funky Town, or take part in the lovely Challenge Ring. Even though it's not technically a planet, it's certainly a locale worth spending some time in, as you get some wonderful upgrades here. Then of course there's my personal favorite, the roaming barren yet lush plains Zavali, where you get an incredible upgrade to your mobility, the rocket boots. This planet is my personal favorite in the game. The soundtrack, the enemy variety, and the collectibles plus main story here were phenomenal. The dimensional tears scattered throughout the realm act as bonus collectible mini platform puzzles. These typically had fantastical scenery, even if most were a bit simplistic. On to the meat, the gameplay, what most people typically play a game for. This is a game of rare conception in the year one of the PS5, and that it uses the unique capabilities of the DualShock 5, such as the adaptive triggers when firing weapons, or the realistic vibration, adapting based on what terrain you're, well, traversing. It's always a lovely addition. I look forward to enjoying more games with this feature in the future. The gunplay in this game is satisfying, and as with other Ratchet and Clank titles, you're going to find some crazy weapons in this game. Almost every gun has multiple fire modes, one allowing you to lock on multiple shots before firing, or one that allows you to absorb enemy bullets and shoot them right back at them. My personal favorite ended up being the Megatron Collider. It was so fun just blasting hordes and hordes of enemies away with it, and it ends up getting a perk later on that increases how much damage it deals depending on the amount of enemies that you hit. Honorable mentions in my opinion would have to be the Buzzblade and the Mr. Fungi, both of which I vastly underestimated their capabilities upon first gaining them. There's also some really crazy late game weapons, such as the Doom Glove, which I found to be so incredible when fully upgraded, though they do struggle to bring Doom to the skies. Gotta start small, little guys. They're there. As for the platforming itself, well, it's alright. A lot of it is satisfying, and some of the rifts, being the main areas where it becomes a challenge, are weird, and all of them are unique. Exploring them is really fun, and I fully recommend doing so. However, there's parts of the game where it gets clunky, or if you're not very careful, you'll get frustrated due to occasionally poor controls. Lastly, the game isn't bug-free. I encountered quite a few out-of-bounds glitches, and one where I couldn't swap weapons at all, but truly these are minor inconveniences, and are quickly fixed by a reload. The enemy variety is what I'll get into next, and to be quite honest, I wasn't too impressed. They definitely throw some strange creatures in there like Grunthors, but most of the time it's the aliens in mech suits, the goons for less, and the pirate robot that you're going up against, except slightly stronger than when you fought them an hour earlier. There are some incredibly memorable boss fights here, but those are typically against giant robot bosses, whereas most of the other mini-bosses slash actual boss fights are against just reused old models, but sometimes there's two of them. I really wish to see more boss versions of the Goons for Less personally, though they probably got their limelight in previous titles. The variations of the aliens and mech suits is pretty decent, but about halfway through the game you'll come to realize that the game stops surprising you, and the enemies fell flat. Thankfully, the aforementioned gunplay and awesome variety of said guns is more than enough to keep you entertained during the combat sections. Lastly, I'll discuss the sound design. For me, the only area where the music stood out was in the aforementioned Zavali, Turin 4, and the boss fights, in which the soundtrack serves to immerse you in this vast landscape, the rusted hovel of a scrap planet, or get you hyped for a big battle against a big baddie. Sadly, however, a lot of it just blends in. When it shines, it does so brilliantly and helps to immerse you in this beautiful world. To me, there was sadly no song like other platformers, in which people might toss soundtracks from it on their game OST playlist for years to come, such as Dire Dire Docks or Sticker Brush Symphony, but that's certainly not to knock on everything else. As mentioned earlier, the voice acting is phenomenal, and every character sells the story very well. The guns are all incredibly unique, each having satisfying noises and specific controller vibration patterns to match them. Not to mention, the enemies' quips, combat grunts, and battle cries are all very well made. If you ask me, the game really decided to put the music in the backseat. Not a bad thing, but also not a great thing, as many people find themselves enthralled by games for the composer's incredible work alone. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was a vibrant, zany experience from start to finish. While the enemy variety and music failed to impress me, almost every other aspect of the game did. The great boss fights far outshine the poor ones. The amazing guns and gunplay overshadowed the lack of enemy variety and made combat fun. And the beauty of the world and lovable characters served to easily immerse you in the story, even if you don't find yourself enjoying it too much. As I stated earlier, the DualShock 5 is fully taken advantage of here, so if you're looking for a game where you can enjoy that, since there are so few, I would fully recommend picking this title up. You will not regret it. While I know this game is over a month old at this point, this is my first video, and it's mainly an introduction to the concept of creating reviews in general. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, and if you have any critiques, however harsh they may be, I more than welcome them in the comments below. For now, this has been Sparrow with Average Level Gaming. Take care, and keep on gaming, gamers.